Good morning. I was having a hard time joining on my computer, so I called in.
I don't know where the coaches are.
Oh, do
I
they
had
have
the same
Monday
issue.
itis?
I had the
Okay.
same issue trying to join. So,
Hey guys, how are you? It's Tim Lindsay here in Portsmouth.
Hey, Tim.
hey,
Hey,
Tim.
Tim.
So what's happening?
Can't join from the computer. I think we called in.
Yeah, it was a tough time logging on. It took me 3 times.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I clicked the link that was baked into my calendar and it pulled me right in.
Yeah.
Maybe they're having an issue up north.
Hey, Tim, I'm here from Maine, not sure where our instructors are, so I'm going to reach out to them right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We'll get underway. Yeah, I know we've got Greater Portland is flying the ship for the next 3 days. So let's talk about the weekend, guys. How did it go? Any challenges? Did anybody feel really good about last week and getting their 10-4 done? What are your challenges with the 10-4? Does anybody not know what I'm talking about? And they think we're all truckers all of a sudden. Like if there's mass confusion around the 10-4, let's clarify that.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
So quiet. Okay, so nobody did anything over the weekend. Cool.
No,
I
I'm
did.
unmuting myself. I did do stuff over the weekend. I'm a
Okay.
brand new baby agent. I don't have my access yet, but I have
Okay.
been actively reaching out and doing my 10 conversations for meaningful ones. I think that's what you mean.
Yes.
So I wasn't here for all. Okay. So, and then I shadowed my team lead and I went for some viewings and she said that I'm a natural. So, okay, that was great. And then I have an appointment tomorrow, just, going to reach out to an old friend that may be
Yeah.
a good vendor lead and referral source. And so that's what I've been using my time for. Although I did take yesterday off and we, smoked a brisket.
I love that. I was like, wow, you better finish this sentence quickly. You're like, we smoked brisket. Anyway, yeah, real important too for anyone who is a growing agent, means your license came in more than a day ago. Because if your license arrived today, you're new. You get to say new for 1 day. After that, you're growing. Okay, said with love. That being said, as your growing agent, if your license is not yet landed at your market center, and you're not carrying your license, we technically can have business conversations. So you can tell people I've made my decision. My license is on the way. No, I know you know this. I'm making sure everybody else understands
Okay.
this. And just make sure you've got somebody you can lean into until your license gets here, right? And then invariably what happens with a lot of people is like down here on the Seacoast for us, the next step after that is I want to get my Maine license. So a lot of our agents at 463 have Maine, Mass, and New Hampshire. And if you're having conversations with friends that want some help in some other state, lean into this whole room right here. We've got all 6 states represented. So good for you. I appreciate that. And again, I love that you referenced that you took yesterday off. I would argue moving forward, figure out the weekend day that you're going to spend with your loved ones. And if you can, and if your team agrees with it, taking off a weekday. Right. You guys deserve your time off too. And if, nobody needs to know that you're not available Monday because you're truly not available Monday. Right. So start to make sure that you're taking time off. Self-care is going to be really important, especially in this current market where when you're spending the other 5 days on the bricks, they're going to be manic. So you need time for yourself to feel unplugged. 4 million years ago in college, I had a great dean who said, if you don't take 1 day off, you'll take every day off. And it's so true. It's so true because you'll sit and be like, yeah, I haven't had there's no red badge of courage because you didn't take any time off, right? Nobody cares, said with love. But if like, you can't be like, yeah, I haven't taken a day off in 7 years. Like, cool. Okay. That's all your fault. So make sure you're baking some mental health time, some downtime into your week. Well, we're on Facebook, so that means somebody's driving. Just don't know who it is yet.
That would be me, Tim.
I was
I
going to
love it.
say, John, you're on the call,
Oh,
right?
there he is, Johnny Hatcher. I'm so excited about this. This is so good. So you guys are in for an absolute treat today. So
Yeah.
John Hatcher is here, which is phenomenal. There's a whole bunch of us here to assist John. So if you need any help, just let us know. Other than that, we will we'll mute and let you take it away and introduce yourself. Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you, Tim. Hi, everybody. I'm John Hatcher of the Portland Market Center. I've been with KW for 18 years. I was one of the core 8 people that opened the office here in Portland. and we grew to 96 in the first year. And then we are now a market center of about 515. And I've been on the ALC from day one and very proud of it. I've been on the international ALC for Keller Williams International. So I've been very involved in training and very much involved in being trained. So I really find that all of these Ignite classes are really very helpful to all of the agents. And I also occasionally will, even though I've been in the business for 35 years, I still will go to one of the Ignite classes just to see what is the latest and greatest. So today's session is on deliver your value proposition. And please chime in. I have somebody monitoring the chat, but I will be trying to watch the chat as well. So feel free to chime in anytime. So basically, one of the things that, let me share my screen here real quick. There we go. So are we shared? Yes,
Yes, sir.
good. Thanks, Chris. So basically, when we start with delivering our value proposition, there's a lot of things that we have to really think about. And first things are going to be, well, actually, let me back up and just talk about what we're going to do today. So basically, the first hour and a half, we're going to do a go through the class, go through the structure, and then we're going to break out around 10:30 for breakout rooms to do some scripts and role play. And then after that, we're going to actually do some real lead gen calling. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And basically, we're looking how to lead gen for buyers and sellers. We're going to be make seller listing presentations and buyer presentations, and then preview real estate. So when it comes to a buyer and seller listing presentation, there are many different ways of doing it. However, what I've always felt is that we have to show our value proposition. And what Tim was saying earlier, it doesn't matter if you were if today's your first day in real estate, we all can offer value proposition. I constantly am working through working with buyers and sellers. And it's always interesting, and I always find it curious when I have been in the business for 35 years, and then somebody brand new in the business that's never sold a house gets a listing that I was going after. So it's always one of those things where if you can show your value proposition and you're competing against somebody that has been in the business for 10, 20, 30 years, you absolutely have the ability to gain a listing or gain buyers. So as far as to grow your business, you really have to develop all these value propositions. And then as far as running your business, as far as the market, the seller listings, show buyers houses, negotiate contracts, transaction management, closing, vendor management, set goals, compliance, risk management, attend training and coaching, and then basically manage money. And that's one of the things that we find that with real estate, there are a lot of people that are afraid to invest into the business. So as far as managing money, the MERA has a great profile of how to distribute your income and expenses and where you should be putting your money for investing into your business. So it's something that I would definitely say review the MERA and also all the cash flow that it has to offer. So then when we talk about the three aspects of service, that you have to define your value, know and state your value, and recap in the ahas. So basically, when we are knowing the three aspects of your service, I always feel like you have to know what you're going to be able to deliver to potential buyers and sellers. And then know and state your value, and then of course we have to deliver our value. And when we look at all of these things, it's something that we do have coaching available, and something that you really need to role play with other people in your office and really figure out how to offer the value proposition and how to deliver it. So when we look at the description of the value, you craft a simple and precise description of benefits for a client. And for instance, dear Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, I have been in the business for a great number of years. I take pride in putting all of my clients as my number one priority to make sure that it's not about me and what I want, it's about what you and you want. And I want to find out how I can deliver to you everything that you want for your transaction in real estate. And then when you're conveying that, as I said, it's just you just really need to let them know that they are your top priority. And you may have 10 other clients that you're working with, but you have to have every single client feel like they are the number one priority. And then also, basically, it is give and take, and different value propositions to different clients. There are some people that want more of you than others. Some of the people just, they don't want to be your friend. They just want to have you facilitate the transaction. So oftentimes I will have clients that they feel like they're going to be my best friend for life, and that's great. And we have to be a chameleon almost and really figure out how they want the communication, what do they want from us. And then when it comes to working with them, you have to really figure out how to limit. The one thing that I've done is part of my value proposition is I tell everybody that, gee, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you basically can find me in the office Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. I am almost always in the office. Please reach out to me at that time. And then there are other people and there are other agents that they feel like they need to be available 24/7. Which for me, I feel like I do want to have more of a real life and be able to have nights and weekends off. So I really try to let them know what my value proposition is, that I am available Monday through Friday. Now, nights and weekends, I am available if we're negotiating a contract and what have you. However, part of my value proposition is knowing how they can reach me and when they can reach me, and that I am there for them. And also, I find that setting the stage up front of what the expectations are going to be when you are going to be delivering your value to them. So then when you look at this, there's so many different aspects of this that you can you can really offer. And I think it's just a matter of you deciding exactly how you define for yourself how you want to run your business. So going to the three aspects as far as purpose, value proposition, and fiduciary, that basically knowing that the underlying purpose of the real estate profession and that you understand that you are a true professional, and then that you've communicated clear sense of how you can deliver that proposition, and then exhibit the fiduciary aspect. We all have a fiduciary responsibility to our clients. Once we sign a contract, we have signed a contract. It's almost like contract of marriage, that we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we are doing everything possible in order to help them with the purchase or sale of their property. So as far as when you say, what is the underlying purpose of real estate? It's different for buyers and sellers. For buyers, it's about finding them the right home. And we used to say at the best price, at the right time with the least amount of problems. Well, in today's market, as most everybody will agree, that it isn't always for the best price. Or what does best price mean? That is it a matter of offering 10% over the asking price? It's more about just getting the house that they want, and how do you craft an offer? How do you strategize how you can get the property for them? And then when it comes to sellers, it's about netting them the most amount. Pretty much every seller in today's market, it is about netting the most. That basically the prices have increased so much, and we used to have to worry about people going into short sale situations, and trying to get them out of a bad situation. We're fortunate right now that we are in a situation where most everybody is going to net a gain when they sell their house. However, as market shifts, as they will, if you're in the situation where you're working with somebody that is facing a short sale and they may have to bring some money to the table, then that is going to be your fiduciary responsibility in helping them get through that, that process. And then I think one of the hardest things in today's market for buyers is helping them understand how the market is working. I put a property on the market last week, and we had 45 showings on it, and I had a lot of agents call and say, what can I do to make my offer stand out? Well, that is a hard answer right now. And basically, the only thing I can say to the other agents is make it the best possible of what your clients are willing to do. And when it comes to representing a buyer, it is a matter of, gee, how much do you want this house? How much can you afford? Is it a matter of we bring the offer in over asking? And then at what point would it be that you would be afraid of losing the property? So it's not always about getting them the lowest price, or sometimes it is paying the most for the property in order for them to get it. So the value proposition is going to change as different markets change. And then, the other thing is, as I said earlier, as far as with the least amount of problems. And basically, people that are buying a property, selling a property, they have a problem. And of course, I don't really like to call it a problem. They have a transaction they need to conduct. When we say problem, we are problem solvers. So if it's a matter of the problem is they need to buy a house, then we are here to help solve that problem and allow them to be able to obtain the property or sell the property for the most to sell it for, and then to be able to obtain the property for the best possible terms that work for them. Does anybody have anything to chime in on? Any ideas or any thoughts about this? Feel free to unmute.
Hey, John,
Yeah,
this is.
I have.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
After you.
Hey, John, can you hear me?
Yes, Drew. Hey, Drew.
Hey, so
this is Drew. This is one of my partners today, working through the
yes,
chiming in.
I am living proof that you can be technologically very poor and still be a realtor. So there you go. I'm on finally. So I just like what you said about how you had 45 showings and you had multiple agents calling you and asking you what they can do to present their client's offer in the best light. I think it's a good skill for the buyer side of real estate that a lot of people who are starting now, that's all they're going to know. It's a really good habit to build. So it's a positive out of this crazy market.
Absolutely. And Drew, just a little bit about you. How long have you been in the business now?
This is my 5th year. Still a baby.
It's still a baby. However, Drew is a top producer, and whenever we do any transactions together, just remarkable. And there's no question that every transaction, he has his client, whether buyer or seller, that basically it is all about them. And speak more about that, about it being all about them, Drew.
So you were mentioning the fiduciary responsibility, and that's really everything we do has to be what's in the best interest of the client. And kind of giving our value proposition to other people. There's a lot of us that have had other careers before real estate, and it's the same chicken, different sauce. It's just, we want to make sure that we're providing clients all the information they need to make good decisions and guiding them through that, not so much telling them what they need to do. And that's what I found with real estate. It's been the most rewarding, and really getting the best results for clients is making sure we keep that top of mind all the time.
And one of the other things that we are counselors. We have to counsel our folks through the waters, the rapids, if you will, with the real estate market the way it is today. And one of the things, as far as showing the value proposition, from day one, we have to explain to them or have them buy in and have confidence that we do know what we're talking about, and we do know how to help guide them. It's interesting that I think we still have, and we always will have, those people that will say, well, my uncle says, my cousin says, my friend says, and people that have sold one or bought one house and they know more than we do. And I think that that's always a situation that we are facing. And also, I don't know if people can see on the screen, but it looks like Drew has a twin brother, Dan Buckley. Dan, do you want to chime in on that a little bit?
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm double booked this morning, so I'm running late, and my name is not Drew Stevens. I'm the real Dan Buckley. And as far as the value proposition goes, I think that you know, I think it was really important what you just said about calling the listing agent when you're making an offer for your buyers and just asking what's important. And you never know what might come from that conversation. So just going the extra mile, just being extremely human and calling the listing agent and say, you know, this is what I have for buyers. They're very interested. What can you tell me about the sellers? Is there anything that they're looking to achieve in this transaction? You know, are they looking for a quick closing, a delayed closing, maybe a rent back, possession prior to closing or possession after? Just opening up that conversation is extremely beneficial, and most agents don't do it.
I have a quick question. How do you have the conversation with an individual that, you know, you have a client and they obviously want to you know, spend as least amount of money as possible, and you're going to have a conversation about you're going above asking price, right? And we can say this is the market, and we show them the comps. But I guess from your experience, how do you approach that conversation of saying, hey, if you really want this property, you're going to probably have to ask above, you know, go above asking price, or how do you have that conversation, I guess is my question.
So
I would say that that's certainly a tough conversation, and it's tough in the sense that you as the realtor may understand what it is that they should be offering in order to win, because you're in the business every day. You see the activity on other properties. You've lost out on offers for maybe the same clients or others, and you know, so you knowing it is one side of it, but them knowing it and convincing them that it's the right thing to do is, I think, the underlying question of what you're asking. And articulating that in the conversation is what's probably going to set you apart from the rest. You know, you can provide neighborhood comps and, you know, recent sold data, and you can show them. But it seems like our market just keeps the hockey stick curve going up currently, and it's really hard to project, even looking at past comps, as to where current properties are going to sell for. And it's really challenging. And you know, there might be a perfect comp down the street, which we all know there aren't perfect comps most of the time, but let's just say that there were perfect comps, and this comp down the street came in at 830, but that was 6 months ago, and the inventory hasn't gotten any better, but the pent up buyer demand.
Whoops, he's freezing up. So one more thing to add to that. Sometimes it's a matter of they have to make 2 or 3 offers and lose the property. And if something, just for using a round number, 500,000
that are currently that have acted upon that, you know, they indicate that, you know, well, okay, there's 5 offers and they're all above asking, or whatever kind of information you can get, and you just kind of play off that and just ask your clients, you know, this is what I've heard from the listing agent. and based on all these indicators and this sold property, even though you may think that it's going to sell for 830, I think that, you know, you told me your budget was 900, so let's go higher. It's hard, it's especially hard on like the first offer, I find. But when your buyers have lost out on many and they're just sick and tired of shopping, it's an easier conversation at that point. But articulating that conversation is certainly a craft.
Thank you.
And again, just adding on to that, as I start to say, that basically sometimes it is just factual that they have to lose 2, 3, 4, 5 houses. And then if they made an offer for listing for 500, they offered less than full price, which does happen, and things do sell for less than full price, and they don't get it. Then the next house they offer full price and they don't get it. The third house they offer a little bit over and don't get it. It's just basically, you know, practicing, having them practice. And of course it's frustrating. And, you know, I think we've all heard these numbers, that we have instances where we have these couple of listings I just have come on the market this past week. And when you have 50 showings and you're going to have 15 to 20 offers on it, that means that there's going to be, if we have 20 offers, there are 19 people that don't get that property. And it's not as if you can say in today's market, we'll just go buy one of the other 19 down the road. Everybody just pick which one they want, because that doesn't exist. So it's frustrating. And as far as the agents as well, we're not liking it. And we just wish that we had a little bit more inventory available. However, it's basically the bottom line is sometimes they just have to lose a lot of houses and then really figure out what they want to do and what is the value of a property that and how much will they pay for it. So yep, go ahead.
Can I ask a quick question real quick?
Sure.
So if a property is contingent, right, and your client's budget is like well over the contingent price, like of the property price, would it make sense for you to, you know, make an offer on that property still while it's contingent?
And when you say contingent, that explain what you mean by contingent.
So when a property is like contingent, I don't know, the status is contingent of the, you know, the status of the property is contingent.
So you're saying that the property is under contract?
Right. Yeah. Would it make sense? Like say the property asking price was $500 and your client's budget was like $600,000. Would it make sense to still make an offer on that property while it's contingent?
So in my opinion, yes, it would be. And of course, making the offer, you always have the ability to withdraw that offer at any time. And if it is the right house for them, then the sellers oftentimes, from my experience, will negotiate for a lesser amount if a property is contingent. So let's say it was under contract for 600, listed for 500. A lot of times people feel like, well, there's one person that's willing to pay 600. However, if you brought in a buyer and you could start negotiating at 500 and then work through the negotiation, so that in my experience, that oftentimes you would be able to buy the property for less than it was under contract for.
Even though it's still like there's another offer and it's contingent, I'm still able to make an offer on that property, and it would make sense for me to do that since like the budget's way over asking price.
In my opinion, yes. Dan, Drew, what do you think?
So I still think it's worth making an offer that's contingent, but just to kind of mirror what John had just said, you know, you have to do what's right for your clients. So if they want to make a contingent offer, like it's your duty to write whatever offer they want, even if it's even if it was a $300,000 property and they want to offer $200,000, technically, you should write the offer for them. However, having a conversation and setting the expectations is really what your job is. And if you know that it's not going to ever work out, then I guess the point that I wanted to highlight that John said was if a seller receives an offer with a contingency to sell another property, then they may negotiate an offer and accept an offer that's less money without the contingency, or they may lean on you as the contingent offer and say, okay, well, we'll accept it with the contingency if you jump a little higher. And so I would say that would be the possibilities with that scenario.
So I'm not the contingent offer. There's already an offer that's contingent, I guess. So basically I'm asking, am I still able to make an offer on that property, and would it make sense for me to do that since, it's so low?
So you're
like
saying
as
that-
a backup offer?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. As a backup offer, we've had instances where we've had 4 or 5 backup offers on property, and people that have been in Maine, we have to say what position you're in, and we have had people that have been in 4th position, and all of a sudden the people that were in 1st, 2nd, 3rd drop out for whatever reason, and it goes to the person that was 4th in line. So we always, if the house is right for your client and there's nothing else out there, then we always recommend a backup offer. And what I was saying is that sometimes we've had properties that have actually sold substantially less as a backup offer, because the first offer was so inflated, and after the people go through their due diligence, decide, well, maybe we're paying too much for this property, so we're going to terminate through the due diligence period, and then the backup offer will be for much less. In some cases, we've also had backup offers where we've had properties under contract for a dollar amount, and then we've had a backup offer for more. So everyone is different, but okay. I would always recommend a backup offer. Drew?
All right.
And this gets back to what you were saying before, John, about talking to the listing agent too. It really is worth a conversation with the listing agent to find out what's going on. Are they already through inspections? Are they already through appraisal? Are they just at a point where they're willing to accept a backup offer or not? It might not even be up to you if they're not taking backup offers, but developing that rapport and finding out what's important to the seller will put you in the best position to make a really strong backup offer.
And going back to the topic of this Ignite is your value proposition. This is where offering the value of navigating them through the process of putting in a backup offer and what that means and what are the chances of them going into first position. So again, there are a lot of agents that say, oh, we won't even bother doing a backup offer because I'm sure the other offer is a good one. They accepted it so quickly. Again, you just never know. And things change in people's lives every day. And somebody may have made an offer way over and then had buyer's remorse and then just decided that were overpaying and terminate. So, so again, all part of your value proposition.
Hey, John, I have a quick question, and I'm glad you used the word buyer's remorse. Speaking to prospective first-time home buyers, due to the prices that are on the market right now, when you come across a first-time home buyer and they're pre-approved for a certain amount, do we have somewhat of a fiduciary obligation to those first-time home buyers to kind of steer them in a direction not to get into a situation where they can become prospectively house poor in the future? Should we be driving first-time home buyers or buyers in general because of the market to raise their prices to get the sale? Or more so maybe not a fiduciary obligation, but a moral obligation to actually guide some of these people, prospectively the first-time home buyers, not to get themselves into a situation where they can become house poor.
So my opinion on that is years ago, real estate agents used to pre-qualify financially. They would sit down and say, how much money do you make? What is your debt? We don't do that anymore. my feeling is if a lender says that so-and-so can afford a $500,000 mortgage, then it's not up to us to make that determination. It's up to the buyers if they feel comfortable with what their payments are going to be. And it's up to the lender to put them in the position of what they can afford. So in the other thing is the idea that we are, again, morally obligated to say, you know what, I know that it looks like it's stretching. However, if they don't buy that house today and it's 25% more in 2 years, then did we do the right thing or the wrong thing? And it's all about what the lender qualifies them for, in my opinion. Drew, Dan, anything to add to that?
I let the lender do their job, and I don't get in the way of that. But I would say when you were talking about house floor, I would say that one thing I do look at is obviously property values are super inflated right now. So I do ask what people's long-term and short-term goals are. So if they're planning on buying a house this year and then moving next year, it may not be wise to buy at all. It probably would make way more sense to rent. And so I would say, you know, that would probably be the most that I look into that. But if they have the financial capacity per the lender, that's as far as I go.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Should we be keeping in mind like the appraisal factor? Like like when Nicholas was saying like the client's budget was way over what the asking price was, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to appraise and therefore they would have to meet that. Is that true that I've heard?
It depends how the contract is structured. I mean, if it's contingent on financing and they don't have a whole lot of cash, then they're not going to qualify for the loan, and they're going to be out some money as far as the appraisal and the process and just cut down. If you set that expectation that, hey, this may or may not appraise, but we can go the distance, they've accepted your offer, then you might be under contract for a few weeks, and then once the appraisal hits, there's nothing you can do because the seller says, I won't sell it for less. You know, if the seller won't negotiate with you because it's such a bull market, then you might, you know, have exposed your buyers to a situation where they actually have spent some money for a house that they're not going to be able to close on. So definitely having a conversation about the appraisal and setting the expectation as to, you know, neighborhood comps and things like that. It doesn't have to be, you don't need to go as far as to do a full-blown appraisal or CMA. I don't believe. I mean, I certainly don't for my buyers, or hardly ever. You know, if it's a really unique property, I might offer to do a CMA for it. But for the most part, we're just looking at comps, recently sold properties, and we're putting it in the ballpark, because we all know that no two appraisers are going to evaluate the same property the same way. So if two appraisers are never going to come up with the same number, how are you going to come up with that exact number? It's impossible. So as long as you give them, I just feel like if you give them a ballpark and say, okay, I think that the appraised value based on comps will be somewhere between 300 and 330. Your exposure going into this is that you have to put down some earnest money, which would be refundable if you don't qualify for financing. And you just let them know what the costs are. Like, you're sticking your neck out this far, and the worst case scenario is this.
Okay.
Yeah, good. So then the other thing, let me just finish. Can I finish? Just say this again, being the fiduciary, the three aspects of service: purpose, value proposition, and fiduciary. If somebody says, I want that house, period, and there's an offer, they make an offer that is very good. However, the sellers may think, gee, that house, our house is never going to appraise for that. And so we might be kicked out through the financing. what we have been doing and what all of our buyer agents have been doing is we're basically saying that the buyer will make up any deficit between the appraised price and the under contract price. So basically, if something appraises $25,000 less than the under contract price and they want that property, then therefore is putting them in a better position with an offer. Now, that means that they have to have $25,000 or whatever that dollar amount is in cash and liquid funds to close it. So again, we're talking about being a fiduciary here, and what is it that our client wants, and what Matt had said, are we putting them in a bad position? In some cases we could be. However, if they want that house, we are their fiduciary, where we have to be obedient and we have to do what they want. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry. Can we follow the strategy for an FHA buyer?
If they have the cash.
Okay. So that wouldn't make the house not pass FHA basically standards if we say that the buyer is willing to put up to, like, for example, 5,000 over appraisal price.
Correct.
Okay.
And then maybe I just had this discussion with the lender, and because of this particular clause that I mentioned, and the lender said that most lenders do not have an issue with that. Occasionally, there are certain lenders. So before you wrote the offer for an FHA or anybody, if it's being financed, you want to find out from the lender, is it okay to pay more than appraised value?
Okay, thank you.
So that'd be a lender question.
And to what you just said, John, a few minutes ago, it is ultimately the buyer's decision. So if you show them comps and it comes in at 300,000 for the comps, but yet your clients want to pay 350 to blow everyone out of the water, that's not your decision. You've educated your buyer. They know where the comps are, and if they have the cash to make up the difference, then let them do it.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm sorry. Could I just ask a quick question?
Certainly.
Regarding FHA, which you just said, I'm sorry, I was writing notes and not listening. So for an FHA buyer, if it does not appraise and they're willing to pay cash, they need to talk to their lender to make sure they can, or not? I'm sorry, I missed that.
If you are writing an offer on any loan, and if you are putting in a clause saying that they'll make up the deficit between the appraised value and the sales price, I would talk to the lender first to make sure that they're okay with it. It's as simple as that. And the lender that I talked with yesterday said that, most lenders that she knows are okay. There are some that won't do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk about what buyers want. The national, of course, this is a little bit old data from 2018 profile for buyers and sellers from NAR, but we're looking about this conversation as far as what is your value proposition, and basically I think it's pretty basic that we know that buyers want to find the right home for them to purchase, want to negotiate the terms of the sale, and then help with price negotiations. So we've really been talking about that a lot already. So I think that we pretty much covered this, that we basically know that it's up to us to guide them, and yet in the end, it's up to the buyers to actually decide, what are they willing to spend on that property. And then as far as sellers want an agent that has a good reputation, honest and trustworthy. A lot of times when we look at agents, 14% are a friend or family member, and then going back to 16% want the agent's experience. So going back to what I said at the very beginning is that occasionally, once or twice a year, if I'm competing against a brand new agent that has never sold a house, and I've sold thousands, I think, well, what the heck? Why would they choose somebody that's never sold a house? And again, it's going back to only 16% is actually the agent's experience. It's reputation, honest and trustworthy. And then as far as the friend or family. So it's something that we just really need to understand that. And again, going back, they want the reputation, and then showing the value proposition, which again is experience, and then the honest and trustworthy and reputation. And then as far as, who are your competitors? Of course, competitors are basically anybody with a license, anybody that they could be in your sphere. And what you are looking at is basically being in front of as many people as you can, and then showing them that you are the true professional. And with technology, I hope everybody's using the KW app, and on all of your emails at the bottom of the KW, you have your link to the KW app. And I mean, it's been really remarkable. And also with technology, I don't know how many people have been using the Facebook ads and command. We are doing like on new listings, we're doing about a $20 ad spend, and we're getting anywhere between 15 and 25 leads on those. So with technology, it's really remarkable. On the listing side, as far as showing your value proposition, it's a matter of, you can show people. What I do is I take my device, and at my listing presentation, I'm opening up the KW app and saying, look, and I'm showing them exactly what their house is going to look like online. And then I'm showing them the emails that I have coming in from all of the Facebook posts that we've been doing through Command, and the technology that we have to offer through KW. So Drew, Dan, anything to add?
I think the technology is great. We're all learning it, and the sooner you adopt it, the better. About a year ago, I spent a lot of time getting into Command, and it's really nice. I'm a solo agent, and it's a really good platform for me in my business. It's a little trickier for bigger teams, but for me, it's great.
Yeah, and somebody just commented in the chat box, which I think is really important to remember, that there's a huge tech team at KW that's working to improve all of our technology all the time. So it might not be perfect all the time from day one, but they're moving in the right direction constantly, and they're looking at how to build it out so that we're in a great position years from now, not just today.
I think, Cynthia, did you have a question?
Yes. Hi. I wanted to ask you about, I'm trying to get a listing with a seller. So how I can use, like, I'm a brand new, how I can use this market that is getting, like the sellers, they trying to pay more, how I can use it to my favor, to help me to get the listing, just to tell him, like, this market is getting crazy, and you're getting offers for more money. How I can use it? Can you help me? What I can say to get the listing?
So is it a price conversation about trying to net the most money? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, just to get the listing, like with this client that I'm brand new. So I'm trying to get, because they have another agent. So I'm trying to get for come with me.
So let me ask you this.
I would come up with go ahead, John.
No, so is the other agent a KW agent, or is it from another company?
No, it's from another company.
So I think
like they don't have a sign, nothing, but he sold something else before. So they're thinking, like, I want they go with me instead of with them again.
So are you familiar with all the technology through the IDX sites for Keller Williams?
No, not too much.
So I would get together with your director of technology in your market center and go through what I have on the screen is showing the app for basically your iPad or your phone. And you can tell them that we have the largest network of agents in the world, that we have the best technology in real estate, and we have a team at the home office of Keller Williams, and we put over $1 billion into technology. So we do have the most technological based company in real estate. And we used to say that the Keller Williams is a technology company disguised as a real estate office, a real estate agency. So the technology that we have really is superior to anybody else's. And to Drew's point, that there are glitches. There's glitches with every company. So we have the upper hand with all of this because of the technology that we have to offer.
Thank you.
And Cynthia, as
when
someone,
you deliver your value, go ahead, John. Go ahead, Drew.
As someone who's part of a market center, wherever your market center is, there's people in your market center that are specifically there to help you with things like that, like finding out that in that area where that person's house is, you can get really detailed information about, you know, in the last year, it's 15% higher prices right now than it was a year ago. Things like that can help you make your point. And there should be tech people or, you know, team leaders, assistant team leaders, productivity coaches, people in your office that will assist you with finding that information.
Thank you.
So at this point, let's talk about crafting your value proposition. So basically, if you do have your guide, I think it's pages 12 and 13. So remember, your value proposition is going to be unique, memorable, and persuasive statement that expresses the true value of working with you. So going back to that, Cynthia, you know, what is the value of working with you? And then it's what you're doing to earn your commission and what holds you accountable to the highest standards. So as far as putting together your own value proposition, and you know, everybody's is going to be slightly different, and yet they all have similarities. And then does anybody have a value proposition that they'd like to share with us that they've already put down in writing?
I have one. I just don't know if it's really good.
Well, let us hear it.
Okay, let me just open it up. Okay. So with me at Keller Williams, you, my client, always come first. I do have years of customer relationship under my belt, and catering to my client's need is my specialty. Whether you're looking to sell, buy, or invest, my goal is to make it an organized process and a positive experience. I will be attentive to your needs, to your every need, and will be there with you every step of the way. I will answer any questions or concerns you may have, or otherwise I will find out. My commitment is to create an atmosphere of integrity, honesty, and consideration and accessibility. Working in real estate market is a huge passion of mine, and I'm excited to join this journey with you.
That's pretty
good.
There
was a lot of good stuff in there. There was a lot of information. I would say it's a lot longer than mine. I'm a very concise person. And you touched on a lot of great points. My only takeaway is that maybe having it be a little bit more like streamlined, but it was really good.
Thank you.
So Emma, is that a value proposition that you could, and what we call the elevator speech, once we're in elevators again with people, is that something that you could just convey without reading it or having it in writing?
No, I haven't practiced that yet.
That's fine. And I think my point would be, like what Dan said, that you absolutely hit on like a lot of hot buttons that were great, and about your dedication, your customer service, what you have done in the past. However, it's a matter of, we like to turn it into more of an elevator speech, so that within 20 seconds you can deliver that without having to read it. So I would say keep all the high points in there, and then trim it down a little bit, just so that you could deliver it without having to read it. And then you might have to, if you did any type of print marketing or even online, having it in writing, that's okay. Yet as far as if somebody says, well, why should I be working with you as a real estate agent? And then that's when you want to be able to deliver that very concise and very quickly. Drew, do you agree? So anybody else? But that was excellent.
I would also say when you're saying it, just being really enthusiastic and focus on how it's being received, because people will certainly remember the way you make them feel while you're saying it.
I know,
so I think
it's
that's
because
really
I'm
important.
reading it in front of a lot of people. I'm just a little nervous, but yes, I should practice more.
I wasn't saying to you specifically. I'm just saying in general, you want it to be, a positive, upbeat experience. So you just want to leave them with that lasting impression that you're the person, and you have their back.
I don't know if I can add on to that. I personally, I like the proposition that the last talker just spilled out, but even though my value proposition basics should not change, I'm more of the opinion that I'll deliver a value proposition based on the clients that I'm looking at, because different people perceive, different words differently, and it all depends on type of client. So while, like I said, while I may not change the basic principles behind the whole thing, I'll kind of tailor my delivery based on the people I'm looking at, the type of clients there. And I kind of try to use the whole disc study that we did with my coach, where you have different people with different characteristics and personalities. So that's just my thought. I would just tailor that towards the person I'm talking to.
So Andrew, so in other words, you'd have 4 value propositions.
Kind of, yeah, depending on the person.
Or nuances, so that all 4 are going to basically have your value proposition, and then it will be tailored to their specific personality.
Correct.
Which is great. That's a terrific. And it's always interesting, back many years ago when we first used the DISC before the KPA for everybody, we always said, well, before we meet with the client, we're going to send them the DISC and have them send it back to us before we go to meet with them, just so that we know if it's a high D, it's like cut to the chase and give them the bottom line. If it's a ISC, just to really understand who we're working with. So that's one of those things where figuring out the DISC. I hope everybody has done the DISC and has taken the course with the DISC, because that is that really quick, the quick assessment of personalities. And I think the more you study it, the more when you just have a quick conversation with somebody, you're able to find out what is their real personality. And I think, Andrew, that is a great point, to tailor your value proposition to know, telling them, giving them your value proposition, so you're going to tell them what they want to hear, and not lip service, but it's truly, if they don't want to be warm, if they're a high D, they don't want anything warm and fuzzy, and yet the others that do want to have that, I'll hold your hand through the whole process, and other people, a high D will be like, I don't want anybody to hold my hand, I just want to get it done and move on. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. The point of first listen, ask the question so that you get a gauge of what your client really is looking for, and then come back with what your value proposition is. I think it's key to for every person that you meet, they have a different style and a different way of wanting to listen. And the one thing you don't want to do is give them a great value statement and them not even caring, because you just lost them.
John, just
I would also say that we probably all provide really good service and value. It's really just comes down to how do you articulate that and convey it to a potential buyer or seller. And that's what this really comes down to, is how do you express that? And I think that's what we're all trying to answer today.
John, on the Keller Williams New England YouTube page, there, I think a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was we did about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Somebody came in and delivered an entire course on disc. If somebody wants to go back and rewatch that, it was a really great class.
Oh, really?
And I think Andrew's point is great, because if John Hatcher's sitting down at the kitchen table and starts to deliver his value proposition to me in a meeting, the easiest thing you could do, John, and you know this, is just say, so Tim, what's important to you and Janina? And as soon as I say what is most important to me, then you can just sort of slide those bullet points to the top of your presentation. So to Andrew's point, I think if you work with a niche of luxury, or you work with VAs or whatever, you know the thing that you need to say to them that makes them feel most heard and cared for. But to John's point, being able to read somebody in an elevator in 37 seconds and be like, definitely a D, and you use your D value proposition in 30 seconds, and I'm a high S. And, and again, a high D value proposition wouldn't take 37 seconds, because the high D wants you to be done, right? So it's interesting, but I think Andrew made a great point as well. But that disc class is on the Keller Williams New England YouTube page for anybody that wants to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, and I would highly recommend it. I'll do it, and it really is. And the other thing with the disc, as far as value proposition, anybody that you know that is a business owner, anybody that you know that that outside of real estate, the disc can be very important to understand customers. And as Emma said, as far as she had a long history of customer service, well, customer service for friends and family that are in other businesses, the disc can be a very great tool to use. So anybody else want to offer anything for a value proposition?
I would say, just to add on to what we're already talking about, and we've all been there. I think some of our more seasoned agents on the call totally understand what we just said. But the D personality, they just want to get right down to it. So I've been on listing appointments in that situation, and I'm sure John has as well, where you put together this pretty presentation. It's got all these colorful pages, and you just skip right over that, because all they want to talk about is the price and the commission and what you're going to do for them and why you're better. They don't want that other stuff. Just get right down to it. And so being able to recognize that quickly and adapting is really important. So you certainly should know your scripts, but also be flexible in the sense that you don't just have a robotic listing presentation, because as soon as you get in there and you're going to have conflicting couples too, meaning the one of the two in the transaction might be a high D, whereas the other is completely opposite, and they're more of the hand holding, need to know all the information and details type. And so just trying to cater to those needs, and you can actually get pulled in two different directions at the same table too. So that can be challenging, because both partners in that relationship may not even be on the same page.
I've had to switch right in the middle of a presentation before, when I realized that they were definitely not C's and they were D's. So you just have to set it aside and just switch your thinking and launch into it, the nitty gritty.
Yes. And you can also tell that, Robin, I'm sure, many times I'm going through my team, my marketing, and they're just like, you can tell that they're trying to look ahead, even though it's pages. It's like, I don't care about this. I just want the bottom line. And so you have to really read their body language. And they're again, the whole, what Tim said earlier, is like, so what is important to you? What do you want to hear from me? So it is really interesting. As a matter of fact, I ended up listing a property that was a great property, and it was a referral from a neighbor of these people, and the agent that they purchased the property through, they were going to list with. So she went and did her listing presentation, and he said to her, he said, well, to this agent, it's like, he said, well, I just want to know the price. And she said, no, I have to go through my whole presentation to show you. He said, I don't want to see it. I just want to see what you've come up with for price. And he absolutely was just going to list with her. He just was that high D, get it done, get them in, get them out and go. And she got up and walked away because he wouldn't let her do her whole presentation. And he said, I've never seen anything like that. He was from England. He was great. He said, I've never seen anything like that. It's like, I just wanted to say, show us how much we're going to list it for and do it. And she walked away from, and this is going back like 6 years, she walked away from a $500,000 listing back then, just because she was so adamant. So anyway, again, we have to adapt. So going back to the delivering your value proposition, everybody work on one, have a concise, short, and deliverable. And then basically, now once you have it, then what you have to do is do it. And one of the things, if we won't be reciting the Y4C2Ts together here today. However, what is the stance on KW with integrity? And basically, it's integrity in all things. So basically, with the value proposition, your integrity and making sure you're following through on everything that you have in your value proposition. It's basically, it's all part of the code of ethics with Keller Williams. And then basically distinguishing yourself with your value proposition. And some of us have our taglines. For instance, mine, which is listed in, it's copyrighted nationally. It's John Hatcher, a household name. So I own that tagline. It's registered and a household name. And I go so many places where little kids will point up and say, that's the guy who's a household name. And so basically having your value proposition, and I feel like having a tagline is also something that really distinguishes you from other people as well. So basically distinguishing yourself in what you have to offer people. As far as creating a stellar experience, basically, I think we all want to achieve to have a experience that is memorable. Emma, can I go back to you and ask you, you said you had years of customer service. What did you do prior to real estate?
I was in banking.
In retail banking?
Both retail and business. I did both.
Mm-hmm. And did you find that the retail customer was different than the business customer?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I do understand the difference between, I didn't attend the Laura's class, but I understand what you guys were describing, because some people want in and out really quickly. They want to conduct their business, they're busy, and they just want things done and move on. And other people, they just want to be, for lack of better words, they want to be babied, basically. So.
Right. Well, so with one of my banks, that if you're a customer there, you will know what it is. Going in to cash a check, there's 1 or 2 tellers behind the counter, and there's 1 or 2 people on the floor offering you goods and services. It's like, would you like to sit down and talk about that? I said, no, I want to cash a check, because I'm a DI and sometimes an ID. And it's a matter of, if I go into cash a check and I'm seeing 2 people just standing there offering services, I want somebody behind the counter to cash my check. So I'm sure, Emma, you've seen all of that. And
I agree. I agree.
Yep, and that's my personality as well. So, so then, as far as just creating that stellar experience, Drew, can I lean towards you, because you have rave reviews from all of your clients. What do you feel that makes you stand out above and beyond other agents with your clients?
So a lot of it is the prior experience before real estate. So my value proposition when I entered real estate was I had years of experience working with physicians that we worked with medications that could kill people. So it wasn't about telling the physician what to do because he or she had a piece of paper on the wall that said they know a lot more than I do. What it was about was giving them all the information they needed so that they can make a good decision, and then guiding them through to get the right person to get what they needed. And it was life or death situations. So selling a house is the most important situation for a lot of people financially. And so there's a lot of similarity. I walk people through that process and I'm with them from start to finish in a very personal level. And I find out what their need is and I deliver for them. And I would say that's been pretty similar to what most realtors that I've talked to that are successful have done. It's everyone on this today has something they've done in the past that can be very relevant to how real estate works. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. So going back to other stellar experiences, so can somebody, what qualifies as an excellent real estate experience? I mean, chime in here, because typically we would be in a classroom and we would be pairing up. What are some things that really make a excellent real estate experience for people?
Getting back to them in a timely manner and always answering their questions, not having the answer necessarily, but sending them a chat. I'll get back to you in a little bit. Something like that, always responding to them quickly so that they know you're there.
So let me ask you this. If you were showing properties in a different day, different time, if you were showing properties that you had out-of-state clients come in and you were 8 hours with them from 9 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, how do you do that? If you had 6 people that you had to get back to?
Really quick text. You know, if I have a minute while they're looking at something and I see that a quick text came in, I'll shoot it back, say, you know, you can reply with a, I'm in a meeting right now, or I'm at a showing, get right back to you as soon as I can. Things like that, just a real quick one-liner.
Great, which is excellent. And then the other thing is setting expectations. As I mentioned earlier, that basically every client knows that I can be reached in the office, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. And if not, the office knows where I am. And I also will tell people that if I am going to be tied up, I mean, for instance, have 2 properties that have offers due tonight at 5 o'clock. I also have a board meeting, but that'll be between 5 and 7. So I let my clients know that I will not be talking to them at the 5 o'clock deadline. I have got a board meeting and I will be tied up until 7 and I'll be getting to them after that. So again, it's setting the expectation of when you'll get back and getting into that whole drive. But what else is providing excellent experience for real estate?
So what my coach has been teaching me is with the selling or buying process, there's a lot of back and forth and negotiation, and sometimes it's I don't know how to word this. The phrase that she uses is be a shield to your client, meaning vet the offers before you present them, vet the negotiations, do the negotiation before you get back to your client, meaning that don't include your client or involve your client in a roller coaster of back and forth that could be emotionally jittery to them, because they're already making a life-changing decision to buy or sell a house, that we have to be basically a shock absorbing cushion to them through that market, because that's what we are for. We're basically walking in front of them in the process.
Right, absolutely. I like that term, a shock absorber, because that's what we are. We have to have a bulletproof vest sometimes. And then anybody else as far as a great real estate experience?
Being new, I don't I can't speak from experience, but I can tell you, I've bought 2 houses and I've had several agents, and the agents that got my business were the people who communicated. They didn't wait for you to reach out to them. They came to you. If you were in the middle of negotiations or if you were in the middle of house hunting, they were there before you could even reach the phone. They were contacting you. It's not a matter of I reach out to you and I expect you to call me. It's a case of letting them know that when you have something important, you will get a hold of them, and also that you're available, and communicate. That's what I think a good agent is.
Yeah, well, welcome to the business, David. And yesterday, one of my buyer agents hosted an open house, and this woman said, "Is there any way you would consider working with me?" Showed up at the open house, and she said, "I've called 4 or 5 agents, and nobody's gotten back to me over the last 2 or 3 weeks." And when I hear that, I think it drives us all crazy. And it's just hard to believe that exists. However, there's also, the statistics. There are some statistics that say you need to get back to somebody within 15 minutes. Yet, on the other hand, to me, if it isn't 15 minutes, getting back to them, period. And what you're saying, David, is true. It's a matter of having a conversation and then putting them top of mind and making sure that you are communicating with them. And especially with Command and everything that we have at our fingertips today, we just put our clients into a drip campaign so that they think that we're communicating with them on a regular basis. And we are. Some people want texts only. Some people want phone calls, and again, asking them how they want to be communicated with, and yet getting them on a drip campaign so that they know that they're not forgotten. Drew, do you want to add anything to that?
It sounds like a common theme with what you said earlier, what David just said, what Emma said, is setting people's expectations and also letting people know what's going to happen before it happens. That really adds a lot of value and creates a much less stressful experience for people. And what all of you said is providing a high level of service by doing that. So that's what I got out of what all 3 of you said.
Right. So the other thing with a high level of service, how many people are working with allied resources, meaning staging companies, landscapers, carpet cleaners, home inspectors, movers? One of the things that I've been doing with many new listings is having a pre-inspection, just so that we can, if we deliver a pre-inspection to potential buyers, it's a very good possibility that they are not going to have a building inspection as a contingency. And in today's crazy world that we're living in, it is a matter of, the fast pace. People say, well, some people, and we specifically do not do this with our clients, that they say, well, we'll tie up the property and decide through the building inspection period if we want it. So by just having a client spend, $600 or so, whatever it ends up being, as a pre-inspection, they can see what would be coming back at them for after a building inspection. And a lot of times somebody that's been in a house for 8, 10, 12 years, they may not know that something is malfunctioning and needs attention. So to me, doing that pre-inspection is very short money for a listing. And that, therefore, you can address those things ahead of time. And if it does have something as a deficiency, you can put it in the disclosures that, oh, by the way, the furnace is 20 years old and maybe towards the end of its life, and just disclose that up front instead of waiting to go through that inspection. So that's one of the things that with inspections is very important. And the other thing that one of the listings that just came on the market that has the offers due tonight at 5, we had the building inspector that did the inspection in 2006 came back, and instead of doing a full-blown inspection, he just did a conditions letter that said that there were 4 or 5 things that were cited in the building inspection originally that had been repaired. And then he also stated that they have improved the property greatly, and he felt the property was in great condition. So we had the 2006 inspection for them to review, which of course is ancient history. However, a fresh letter from the inspector saying that all the items back then were taken care of and a number of improvements. So to me, as far as value proposition and what else we have for working with Allied Resources, a lot of times, stagers in today's world, we all know that staging is a hot button and has been for a few years, and is important to have a house show its best. And then when it comes to having even movers, that a lot of people say, well, I don't know where I'm going to go and how much it's going to cost. So having a mover come in and do an estimate ahead of time, and even if it's an estimate on how much it's going to be for storage, and when we we'll end up getting the house ready to sell, instead of scrambling or getting to close, it's not scrambling trying to get all these people in. And also, I mean, many houses need carpets to be cleaned, and carpet cleaners can be out 2 or 3 weeks, but if you have a relationship with them, they'll get you in on a short notice. So anybody else, any ideas on other Allied resources that we should be using in our business?
So John, if we have a lot of different market centers on here, and whoever their resources are at the market center, there might be someone like a mortgage broker, there might be someone like a home inspector who's willing to help you as a newer agent. They'll put together maybe a marketing piece on a property, and as long as you co-promote it with them, you can get them to pay for it, and it's a win-win situation. So when you're newer and you're not trying to spend a ton of money on marketing, there's still ways to use leverage and some of the sponsors in our market center to help you get really good pieces of marketing out.
I think pickers or a junk removal service is handy at times.
Absolutely. And those are people that, I mean, we have in the Portland area, there's one to-go-to person that we have that they actually will even move furniture, and they're bonded, licensed, and insured. So if all of a sudden with these people where they do move stuff, they'll come in, and if you want to help with as far as staging and moving furniture, or even taking a couple of pieces out, taking it to Goodwill or taking it to a resale shop, they will actually do that. So again, having those resources at your fingertips. The other thing is having a list together. We have a lot of people that move in from out of town, and one of the biggest, a lot of anxiety is around doctors, dentists, hairstylists, pet services, and people like that, it's like, who do I go to? And again, real estate agents, as we all know, a great deal of our business comes from personal referrals and past client referrals. So if you become the expert in your market, and when people are coming into your market, the anxiety of, gee, we've got to have, all these new services. And if you can have a list of all these people that you would recommend, business by referral always is number one.
It's a great example too, John, is if you're looking for the excuse to make phone calls to your people, if you said, I was in a great class today, we were building our Allied resource list. If you just did a day where you called all the people that you know and love and trust who are in the Portsmouth area, Portland area, Greater Hartford area, and said, hey, I'm asking everyone that I know that has a bunch of kids or whatever the case may be, who's your go-to dentist? Who's your family practice? Who's your butcher, your baker, your candlestick maker, your mechanic, your stylist, all that kind of stuff? Because then you can call that person. Then I can call John Hatcher Productions and be like, hey, John, I talked to like 30 of my friends, and 29 of them said they'd bring their car to you. So I was wondering, if I had clients who relocated, would you be willing to fix their car too? They're not going to say no. Well, they might if they are. I mean, I doubt it. Like doctors may be full, dentists may be full. Most mechanics are probably looking for more money. Most Allied resources are looking for business right now. So, and it's a great way to lead in with the edification that you talk to a bunch of people who said they're awesome. It's rare you call somebody and say, all of my friends said you're great. Would you like more people to love you too? They'll be like, no, we don't like money today, and hang up on you. That's probably not going to happen. Be a rarity, right?
Right, and the other thing, as Tim's saying, a lot of us, as far as cold calling, warm calling people, it's not about, gee, hi, this is John Hatchick, Keller Williams Realty. Do you want to sell your house today? It's like, hi, this is John Hatchick, Keller Williams Realty. Hope you're doing well. I'm putting together a list of allied resources. I have a lot of clients coming into town that are looking for a dentist, and a lot of dentist practices are full. Who do you use? Who would you recommend? So it's not at all the discussion about, do you want to buy or sell real estate? It's about asking for help from them. And by asking them for help, and everybody does want to help, and then as you get into the conversation and before you close, then it's, oh, by the way, Brian Buffini, oh, by the way, who do you know thinking of buying and selling real estate? But it's not the cram real estate down their throat. Like, this is what I'm calling for business. I'm calling for help from you and to help my business. And oh, by the way, at the end of the conversation. So.
Yeah, you didn't, to your point, John, you didn't have to lead off with it. You politely mentioned, I have 1 billion clients coming to town, right? So that's going to pique their interest. Like, oh yeah, so you already told them, I'm still doing real estate. I'm amazing at real estate. And where do you buy your cookies, right? That's like that. But it's the background music to the conversation of, when you buy a birthday cake, where's the bakery that you love? Like, oh, that's really cool. Hey, so how's real estate? And oh, I'm glad you asked. We're looking for listings because there's none, right? So.
Absolutely. So
can I give you a real world example, John?
Yeah, go ahead.
So 2018, there's a contractor who is a personal friend of mine who was working with a big company and decided to start his own contracting business. He must have gotten 90% of his work in 2018 from people that I referred him to. And I was helping him, obviously, but I was also, it was good for my clients because I was able to get someone in to help them with their jobs who was reasonably priced and an honest guy. And then in 2019, when that contractor's mother-in-law was selling her house, you can guess who he called to do that. Coming from contribution is the way to work.
Absolutely. So any ahas from the session so far?
The one I had was just what you guys were talking about, building alliances. I never thought about calling my dentist up and saying, hey, I might be having some people come into the area. Could I refer them to you, or are you still open? Or a podiatrist, or, you name it, a contractor. I have a guy who's a friend of mine who does landscaping. I never thought of calling him up and talking to him about that. And at the end of the conversation, saying, oh, by the way, this is why I'm doing this. I mean, that was aha for me. You just don't think of that.
Which is great. So David, for everybody that you call that does not know that you're in real estate, it's like, hi, I'm David, working from Keller Williams Realty. I got into the business. However, I'm calling about this today. So introduce and let them know at the beginning that you're now in real estate, but then say, the reason for my call today is wondering, I've got clients. We can say we, because it doesn't have to be you. We have many clients coming into the area from out of town and wondering, is your dentist, is your practice full, or are you seeing new patients? And if there's dentists specifically, I think are still, pretty, through the last year, there are a lot of people that did not go to the dentist and are afraid to go to the dentist. So I think that is a timely call now, and then remember them. And then of course, what's the one thing that we always do after we have a conversation with everybody, somebody on the phone?
Send them a note.
Thank you.
Can I actually add something to that?
Sure.
So I was thinking through how to add or how to build this list of folks, and the issue that I was thinking about was, how do I add value for them? Because it's one thing to let them know, but then I don't want to fall by the wayside. So what I thought about doing was, so I have a friend that's been has had his own irrigation business for years. It's grown and grown and grown. And so I thought maybe it would be helpful for him if I, on a monthly basis, automated an MLS report and just kind of like pulled addresses for new houses that have been sold, so he could send a postcard, and so that way he gets access to people that are potentially in need for his services. He can do a very simple thing and send out a note card, but then he also sees my name every month to get that report. I can ask him a little question. So that's one thing that allows me to provide some value and also like really stay front of mind.
And are you Ryan, are you using Command?
Yes, just starting. Yeah, I'm just starting out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, welcome to the crazy world of real estate. So that's the one thing, building your database. I know that there are other ignites about building your database, but the whole database, and as we call it in Keller Williams, data bank. So every name that you can get to put into Command, so that they'll get and put together your newsletter, and making sure that they're getting contacted however often you decide to send things to them. However, it's just always staying in front of them. And to me, it's like one of the easiest resources that we have to use to be able to be in front of them. And then, of course, there's nothing like the whole, the touch programs where you are actually calling them. It's one thing if you get an email once a month or twice a month. However, it's that phone call that really makes the difference. And then at the end of the conversation, asking them if they know anybody thinking of buying or selling real estate. And it's just amazing how people respond to that. And when you reach out to them, we're in such a world of technology where everybody's texting, and like Robin said, a quick text or something. However, when you get that phone call and having the live voice on the other end, there's a little bit more of a personal touch. And I think depending on your relationship, however, just a quick, 2, 3, 4 minute conversation, people welcome that. And even in a sphere, if you have anybody that's older demographic, that people have been shut in for the last year. And when you start talking to people that are a little bit older, they just appreciate somebody to talk to in live. So. Anybody else, any other ahas? Going once, going twice?
I was just gonna say, it's been a bevy of information. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. So at this point, we're supposed to go into breakout rooms and work on and discuss your value proposition with one another, and to help develop each other's value proposition. So we'll do that for about a half hour and then come back at 11 o'clock, if that sounds good to everybody. So let me see if I have Command and I can do this.
Hey, John, can we do a few minutes of bio break for people before we jump into the rooms? Is that possible?
No. Yes.
I love that. Yes. Get a pickle jar. Figure it out.
You're right, exactly. So why don't we do this? Why don't we, I'm going to put everybody into breakout rooms, and is 5 minutes good turnaround time for the bio break? 10? Oh, come on, Robin. Okay, very good. 10 minutes, and it's 10:35, so let's all be back into your breakout room at 10:45.
Perfect, thanks.
Thanks. Okay. No, this 59.
We do like 12 rooms.
Hello? Hello, is one of the leaders there?
Hi, Deborah. Can you see me? Deborah, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, chat.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So did you see down below where it says join room?
I did. No, I don't see it now, but I did see it and then it disappeared.
Okay, let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can do this to move you. To see if this shows up now.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, now hit join. There we go. So Melissa, I'm opening it up. So do we stay on?
Oh, John's gonna open it up. Who would know? Tim? Tim Lindsay? I wonder if he's on. Yeah, he's been on and off. Tim, this is Chris. She said Tim Lindsay would know. All right, I gotta go back and help him. Okay, bye.
We'll close in 53 seconds. And we're back. So any ahas?
Definite ahas.
So share some with us.
I think Drew was really helped us with our value proposition and making sure that we understood how to relate the benefits, you know, and how it can actually benefit the client. And he shared a different, you know, different perspective with us on how we can translate our skills and our previous experience in a way that would benefit a, you know, a buyer. So that was really helpful.
Anybody else?
So as we kind of go through this, I think, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, it makes sense to create like sort of a persona in your head. So we decided on first-time home buyer, so that you have sort of a value proposition for a first-time home buyer, or whether it's the persona of the person or like where you're meeting them. I think it helps to have kind of like tailored value propositions. Otherwise, you're going to kind of like miss. You can't appeal to everybody. You can't say everything, and some things are going to miss. So I think if you have a persona and have a place, I think if you do a few of those, it'll give you core pieces to draw from, and it'll allow you to react on the fly and kind of customize it to somebody. So that was one thing we did, was just selected a persona to create one for them.
I think
Which is great. And the other thing is, of course, daily affirmations, and part of the daily affirmations is the persona, and, you know, just believing that you can, you know, whatever you have for a daily affirmation, but part of it is your persona. So Dave, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that it wasn't around a value statement, but it was, we had a realtor in my group that has a lot of experience, and she was relating that it's really a seller's market, and to the degree that it's a seller market was an aha moment for me. I mean, a house is going for mucho dollars over the asking price and the bidding wars, and how tough it is for someone representing a buyer to get to a closing, because there's so many different buyers looking at the same property. So, and also making your value statement something that is tangible, not something that is, you know, touchy-feely.
Absolutely. And again, so clear, concise, short, to the point. Again, if you're putting your value proposition in writing for marketing purposes, you can expand more than you can, as I say, with the elevator speech. You just have to have it clear, concise, and heartfelt. I mean, it has to be, it's not just rambling off your value proposition just to, you know, to spew it out. It's got to be heartfelt and believable. What else did you talk about? Had to be something.
Make 3 people chime in or you can't move on, John.
Yeah, right.
Pick up a script buddy.
Oh yeah, I'll just share. I was also speaking with Naomi and Drew, and I'm a very new agent. So just, coming into a space where you understand that your background, how does that serve the people that you're looking to take on as clients that would work for you? What's important about your background that would serve them and give them what they're needing? And to take those things that you may not realize are important and spin them into, really big positives and benefits and giving you that competitive edge, even as a newer agent. I was saying also, as a newer agent, maybe you've got more time on your hands compared to someone that's super busy. So you can really pour it into those first clients and really build up that trust and look for a really positive experience for them to refer back on afterwards.
Right, you're absolutely right. And welcome to the business, by the way, and wish you much success. The one thing that I find with new agents, a lot of times they feel like they don't have enough to do. And yet, if you have the mindset of this is running a business, if you opened up a retail store and didn't have customers waiting in line to come in, you wouldn't close the doors and go home and not just say, well, I'm going to wait until I know that there's going to be a customer and I'll meet them at the store. So it's basically going to the store every day and working, and whatever you choose for hours. Mine has always been, starting first thing in the morning and working a full work day. Now, a lot of people getting into the business have other jobs and they have to work around that, which is fine. And there are a lot of incredibly successful people that have done this as a second job to start with. However, if you have the capability and capacity to do it as your full-time job, to start off with Monday through Friday, and what we talked about before, the breakouts, is basically calling everybody you know, letting them know that you're in real estate, and offering your value proposition and asking them for help, because people do want to help. People that like you want to help you.
Thank you.
What else?
Hey, John.
Yes.
When you're asking someone for help, would you start that right away in the conversation? Would you wait kind of till you've chatted a little bit?
I would do a little bit of a chat, just say, hi, I'm Trevor, and this is Trevor, how are you doing, and how's the family, and what's new and exciting in your life? I mean, come up with a script that doesn't sound scripted, and then just say, oh, by the way, I wanted to let you know that I'm now in real estate and would like to have your help. Who do you know thinking of buying or selling real estate?
Okay, thank you.
And Drew, chime in on that as well. I know you're great at this.
Yeah, I would also add to that, Trevor. Everybody on this call knows somebody who's a friend of theirs that maybe they have absolutely no interest in selling their house whatsoever. If you said to them, can I get half an hour of your time because I'm new in real estate and I really want to give you a pitch like I'm going to do for a client, and I would just like you to help me out and give me honest feedback because I know you will. I can trust you.
Yeah, that's exactly something that I have plans to do.
I did that with one of my good friends when I first started in real estate. I got my listing presentation together. I met him at a coffee shop. I gave him a listing presentation. He had zero interest in selling his house, and that was fine. He was only doing it to give me feedback. I actually did a public records check for him and found out he had a huge space above his garage that was not that he didn't realize needed to be permitted and put on record. So he actually got about 180 square feet more in his house because of our meeting.
No, that's great. And again, value propositions can be your blanket statement, and then adding value to friends and relatives and coworkers if you're coming out of another job. So it's just always about adding value to people's lives, as we want other people to add value to our lives. Anybody else?
one of the conversations that we had in our room was being somebody who's completely brand new to the business, and how do they get people to want to work with them, basically. And a great big gigantic thing is just confidence. Exude confidence in yourself. Be energetic when you talk to them about the fact that you're starting your real estate career, and just that's when I first started in, it was the same way. I had no idea. I'm like, these people, I don't have any experience. Why would they hire me? It just, you don't realize who is going to be friendly and say, oh, let me know as soon as you get your license, because we might want to do something. My church family, that was the first person who I sold their home, and they bought a house, was a church family. Let them know now that you're getting your license and you're excited, and you want them to be on your journey with them.
So Robin, how long have you been in the business?
I've been in the business, give or take a little bit of 10 years.
So to everybody that's new in the business, here's somebody that's been in the business for 10 years, and she's showing up for not only further education, but to share her knowledge. And like I said, when we first started, that I jump on the Ignites quite often, because there's always something new, and there could be somebody that is brand new in the business that has never sold a house, that, like Emma, coming from the banking industry and saying, oh, I used to do this. And it's like, well, that is so simple. Why haven't I been doing that? So there's value to people that have never sold a house, as well as people like Robin, Drew, myself, that have been in the business for a number of years. And it's like when they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, there are always new tricks to be taught. So it's great. So Robin, so what have you found is your value proposition for clients over the years?
My value proposition for, say that again, for class?
Well, no, just what is your value proposition?
My value proposition is that I don't really have it specifically down packed. I don't have it in front of me either, but basically that I am there to protect them through this real estate transaction. That is my job, to protect them, to help them negotiate, to guide them, to educate them, and to get to hopefully a good, smooth closing. But yeah, and just
when you're talking to them, leave out the hopefully. To say a good, smooth closing.
Oh, I leave that out, absolutely. Yes, I just, not every transaction is smooth, and I try to give them a little bit of my experiences with really rough ones, a little bit here and there, how we got through it and got them to closing. And just, it's not always just experience that they're looking for, it's honesty. I'm very open and honest. You're gonna get the answer whether you like it or not, gently, so.
Robin, you
Yes.
sound like the best pilot of every international flight I've ever been on. The way you're speaking and the way that you're talking, I'm like, yes, that's my pilot. Calm, cool, steady landing. We're gonna get you there. We're gonna get you there on time. There's gonna be some bumps, and but we'll get you there, and you'll have a good time on the other side of it. So, I like
Thank you.
I like your approach. I
Thanks.
explain.
Yep.
What else?
I'd like to ask something.
Certainly.
In this crazy market, is it going to be even harder for the new agents to get somebody to say, I'll use you. I like you. I trust you. I've dealt with you before, let's say, or I know you're a great person. I know you work hard, but I know this market is insane, and somebody with experience could probably handle my transaction better. Are we going to see that more in the crazy market, or it won't matter?
So we are part of the largest real estate firm in the world, and we have the resources more than any other agent by being part of Keller Williams. So it's not about you being new in the business, it's about the resources that you have being part of the largest real estate firm in the world.
Okay.
And I mean, Drew, add to that.
Trevor, I think that question was asked by everyone who started 3 years ago, 6 years ago, 12 years ago, 25 years ago. There's always an opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
And what you heard earlier is just having your positive mindset that you can do it, and have the confidence in yourself that you can do it. You know, there's a new rock star born every day in this business, and there's many new rock stars born every day. And I mean, I was #1 agent for the state of Maine last year for my production. However, I meet with people all the time that say, I want to be like you. And first off, I'll say, you absolutely do not want to be like me. However, anybody can be me and replace me. It's not that I have anything, there's no magic wand that gets waved to say that, you know, I was #1. It's basically years of experience, years of putting in a lot of effort and follow. In today's world, we have systems and models that did not exist when I got into the business. And the systems and models and the training that we have access to is far greater than what I had collectively in my first, 15 years in the business. What else?
I think I'm a new agent, and I'm just waiting for my license to arrive so I can get started, and I'm very excited. But I think that maybe a lot of new agents have the fear of rejection. And I think it's the rejection that kind of puts that negative approach to things, and it's the fear of what happens if I get rejected. And I've deduced from that is that rejection can either hurt you or benefit you, all depending on how you look at it. I take rejection as a driving force because it's going to happen, regardless if you're in real estate or whatever it is in your life. But if you can take that rejection and harness it and turn it into a positive as a driving force, I think that will help new agents get over that threshold and help to build confidence.
So to that, Matt, have you ever asked anybody out on a date and they said no?
Absolutely. I've been rejected on dates. Absolutely. Before I met my beautiful wife. Absolutely. But that no was a driving force.
So point being, we deal with rejection every day in so many things that we do. And it's a matter of the old saying, you have to go through so many no's to get a yes. And of course, the more you have in your toolbox to get the yes sooner than all the no's. And the practicing and your value proposition, which is what this segment is all about, offering your value proposition and know what it is and believe in it. And the more you have to offer, it's like a date. The more you have to offer, the less chance they're going to say no.
No, I agree. I think you can have 100 no's, but it's going to take that one yes to start a fire, and then everything can explode from there.
And if you're not getting no's, then you're not asking enough. You're not, Robin, how, as far as, because this has been something that we have talked about since day one in the real estate business, how many no's to get a yes. And what happens when somebody says to you, gee, I'd really like to work with you, however, I'm choosing somebody else? What do you do?
Well, I'll ask them, what is it about? What can I do that would have you choose me, in so many words? And I mean, what is it about that person that I don't want to say that person, but you know what I'm saying, not make it personal, but what is it that I can't find my words right now, I'm sorry, I usually have them, but basically what can I do to shine above that person? And it's okay to do that.
Drew and I believe, if I'm remembering it right, Cocktail Cove, you had talked with sellers, somebody that I actually was in the business with over 30 years ago. And we remained, in conversation over the years. And then they listed their property with a really good friend of theirs, did not sell. Drew talked with them, they approached me, and I didn't know at the beginning that they were talking to Drew, and Drew knows that you know them personally as well. So it's a matter of they chose me over Drew. And how did you respond to that?
Sorry, I'm muted. How would I respond to that? If they go in my car, have a good cry, and then get back at it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did, John. I cried and said, I'll never make it. No, I just honestly that I find that it's a little bit of a compliment, I guess, when there's other people that are very successful in this business and they're getting a client that I'm not getting. I look at it as what can I do to get to that level. And in that particular situation, it's happened a lot. I think it's a theme where certain people have a loyalty to certain people. So you go way back with them. You've always treated them with respect. You've always been a good source of information for them, and you've earned some loyalty. And so I always look at that as, how can I get 25 or 35 or 105 people that are that loyal to me that when someone else talks to them, they're going to say, I'm using Drew.
And to this point on this particular client, they know everybody. They're very involved in their community, business owner, and somebody that works at the university. And they ended up, we sold a house and it had 2 waterfront lots. And then they had another broker that came to them and said, I know I could sell the lots for X, which in my opinion was 25% above what they were worth. And we had a conversation, and then they called me practically in tears saying, John, I know you don't have the confidence that the lots are worth this. This other agent is so determined that she will be able to sell them that we just have to go with her. And she does. I mean, she's a very good agent and does a lot of business. Well, put it on the market, put the lots on the market. 6 months later, still there. They called me a month ago and said, you know what? We knew you were right all along. However, because of how confident she was that she could sell the properties for that dollar amount, and they said we knew she was wrong, and we didn't believe it. So what happens? I have those 2 waterfront, $1 million worth of listings back because I told them what they needed to hear, and they believed me, and yet they were convinced by somebody else that it should be something else. When I said to them, when they didn't send a text or an email, it was a call, and I said, you know what? I hope you do get that because it's going to set a standard for the values, and I truly hope you can get that, and I wish you the best of luck. And if it doesn't work out, I'm always here for you. And here I am back. And I've heard some people that get really upset and irate and say, I can't believe you're doing that. I can't believe you're listing with Trevor or Carol or Deborah. I can't believe that's ridiculous. You should be listing with me. So all of a sudden there's all this angst and anxiety and turn off. So it's always a matter of compliment them, saying, gee, I'm disappointed. However, if things don't work out or if there's anything else I can do in the future, I'm here for you. So, but going back to Trevor, your point as well, as far as being new in the business, we all were new. And basically, when we go back to that, the chart, let me see if I can pull it up real quick here. Why do people, what sellers want? Is this screen shared? No.
No.
Let me. There we go. So what sellers want is reputation of an agent. You're shared now, correct? Yep. So reputation, agent is honest and trustworthy, friend or family member, agent's experience. Agent experience is small. And then other, it makes up everything else. So in some cases, I'm just astonished at how people really don't care about, they just, if they like you, they'll work with you. And I think that that's the biggest thing. The biggest hurdle is understanding that and not overemphasizing new in the business, no real experience. And the other thing is, again, I've had people, like I said earlier, that people that have listed with people that have never sold a piece of property and expensive pieces of property, and they'll say, well, we really wanted to help Trevor out. he's just getting into the business. It's like, what do you mean? What does he know? But I, in my mind, and yet again, it's just showing up, being there, being consistent, and being, well, basically consistent and persistent. So, Drew, you're going to say something?
No. Totally agree. I mean, nothing to add.
Yep. So anything else for anybody? We're pretty much coming up. What we're supposed to do now is do lead gen, but where we're coming up towards the noontime hour, basically, I hope everybody will, when we sign off, I'll ask if there's any other questions or thoughts or ahas. We have another 20 minutes if we need to, and if not, let everybody get off to lead generating. So any other ahas or questions for Drew, Robin, or myself?
I have one little thing I can say to folks that actually helps me a little bit, if you don't mind. Just keeping in mind that you may be the only real estate agent who has spoken to those people. So once you get their contact information, keep contacting them, because statistically, if I remember correctly, lots of times the first one they speak to is the one that they go with. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yep.
And oftentimes, I don't know, the number keeps shifting. However, somewhere around 25% of all sellers and buyers only interview one person. So it's being in front of them. And a lot of times people don't realize, a lot of times people say, well, we should interview at least 3 agents and we should pick one of them. Most people, or 25% of the people, are just like, we need to find an agent. And what I said earlier, as far as buyer agent yesterday at an open house, actually 2 buyer agents that did 2 separate open houses, the buyers came in and both of them wrote offers on that open house. And then they also, one of them picked up an additional buyer, the woman that said, I've been calling for 3 weeks and nobody's returned my calls. So it's basically being out there. In your markets, are you doing public open houses on weekends? Some are.
We are.
So to me, the other thing is, if you are, I would ask to host any open house that any agent has. And again, we picked up 3 buyers yesterday out of 2 open houses. And a lot of times people say, oh, everybody's represented, there's no sense of doing an open house. And that's not true. So to me, once having the time, holding an open house on a Saturday, open house on a Sunday, just being out there in front of the public is just so beneficial. And making it your mission when you're hosting an open house to try to talk to everybody, get their contact information, and just follow up, follow up, follow up.
Hi, John. I had an open house this weekend. Price point was $800,000. And I couldn't believe the people that came to this open house was just wild. It was in Natick, Mass, so obviously, Middlesex County.
That was a starter home.
Yeah, exactly. So I literally had, I want to say 30 people each day. I did not have a typical open house, but I did have open house signs. So it brought in people on Zillow and whatnot, regardless. And I'd fit those people in. Obviously, it was a big enough house where I could kind of spread them out downstairs and some upstairs and whatnot. And, you have everything ready. You have the antibacterial canisters everywhere. And I made sure everybody had booties on and whatnot. And you just kind of run them through. And I picked up 12 buyers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, if you could only find 12 houses to sell them, right?
And that's the whole thing. I already have 12 buyers I'm working with. So now I'm up to double that. Exactly. Yeah.
But so to your point, Laura, that basically there are buyers out there that are not represented.
Absolutely.
There are buyers out there.
Yeah. Even in that price point. So,
right.
Guys, it's not just 300s or 400s. It's up there. So go for it. Go get it. And when you get them, you make sure that you get a tablet so they're not writing it down, because when they write it down, you can't read their writing. So you make sure that you get something where you're able to read it. Because a lot of times they don't put their email, they don't put their phone number. And so I did have another agent, a new agent with me. I've been in the business for 12 years. And I'm here because I'm new to KW, to be honest.
Oh,
But
well, welcome.
yeah, thank you. So
Why did it take you 12 years?
you know, and it's so funny because the team leader, Eric, of course, now he's half owner now, but Eric at my center, he's been after me for 4 years and kept saying, "You're leaving money on the table, Laura, you're leaving money on the table." And I just, you know, I was used to having an admin. I was used to having the signs put in, but he was like, those are stupid things that you can just get done yourself. That'll save you so much money. And he's right. I mean, I can't believe it. I can do like the brochures all by myself, and they look damn good. Even on a house of that price point, I did a great job. And I'm not artistic at all, but I did a great job.
And you did that through Command?
Yeah, I mean, amazing. Yeah. So my admin there pointed me where you can do all that stuff in designs. And you guys fool around with Command. It's just, I cannot even believe the things in there. And when you do get all those people, enter them in your database, hit them, and make sure you call them and let them know, hey, I got you in here. You know, I know where you're looking. And then send them those market trends. And guess what? They are now my forever buyers now. Like they couldn't believe it. So do that. It's really worth it. It's all about communication and just keeping yourself, in their face, because you have to go for it. They're not going to come to you. You need to get out there and go for it. Hit restaurants, hit businesses, just, get out there, say, hey, I want to help. Go to your, in your town, wherever your center, market center is, and hit those places near there and say, hey, I want to help you. What can I do to help you? Bring them in. I've already hooked up about 10 businesses right now. Favorite places you go to, hey, you guys have some coupons I can, give you out, and then put your name on there. Hey, you know what? I'm helping out this restaurant. You want to do stuff like that. And that's going to make you a superstar, honestly, in this business, because you need to set yourself aside from everybody else who's just putting along and looking just to get the next thing. You need to be unique. So that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Very, very beneficial, basic. However, the whole Command, it's, just at your fingertips and no hard labor to get things done. And it's just a remarkable resource that we have. So, and Trevor, going back to your question again, we not only have the largest real estate firm in the world, but we also have the largest technology in real estate behind us. So that's something that we really have to offer everybody. So the other thing, speaking of Command, and as far as setting your goals, basically with your database, and Laura, in KW, we call it our data bank, because it's banking for the future. Basically, adding at least 10 contacts a day to your data bank, having 10 conversations a day. Oh, by the way, who do you know thinking of buying, selling real estate at the end of the conversation? 10 handwritten notes. Everybody that you have a conversation with, do a handwritten note. And then try to do, the previews is a little bit harder now. However, when things change a little bit, just previewing as many homes as you can so that you really get to know the inventory. So that if you do have that first time home buyer or move up buyer, and they're looking at a house that's 500 or $1 million, that you can truly say, oh yes, I saw the house down the street. And in my opinion, the value is comparable, so therefore it is priced right. But just getting to know the inventory on a day-to-day basis. The one thing with handwritten notes as well, going back to that, when was the last time you received a handwritten thank you note? Has it been a while? And then when you do get one,
the other day.
But really, but when you got it, did it feel like junk mail?
Nope. Actually, it
How
felt
did,
awesome.
Jennifer, yeah,
Because
Jennifer,
you
how
don't
did it
get
make you
them.
feel? Right, so
You
how
don't
did it
get
make you
them
feel?
anymore. It made me feel
Right.
great, actually. It was
And
nice. It's something you don't get anymore. It's that extra personalization that you can give somebody or get from somebody. It's so rare these days to get. You get so much junk mail, something handwritten. I stop. I take the time. I open it. I enjoy it. I do get those, luckily, but it is something that I've noticed people say, oh, that was awesome. I got a handwritten note from so-and-so.
And along with your business card, a refrigerator magnet. And so it's a matter of every time that I do a handwritten note, and then people actually thank you for the handwritten note. You're thanking them for the conversation. And then because they're not expecting it, then they all of a sudden thank you for receiving it. So it's really interesting the impact that it has. And especially if you have an older demographic that grew up with a lot of handwritten notes, it just means so much more to them. And again, all those people that have been shut in for the last year, I talked with somebody the other day that they have not been to a grocery store in a year. They have not been out. They've ordered everything through Instacart, Whole Foods, all their shopping. They've had some people do errands for them, and they are shut in. So when they get a note, a handwritten note, that just means so much to them. So again, 10 contacts added every day, 10 conversations a day over the phone, and then 10 handwritten notes, and then as many previews a week. Really, it makes a huge difference. So anything else?
John, to tie into what everyone is saying about the handwritten notes, I forgot which lady it was earlier, one of the Ignite sessions earlier, said that she went to show somebody a home or meet with them, a presentation, listing presentation maybe. And she always has a handwritten card ready to go. She drops it in the mail right away. And the woman contacted her about a week later just to tell her that she was the only one who did something like that. And so she's going to use her for the listing.
How simple is that?
Yep. A handwritten note.
The other part of that is oftentimes doing a market analysis on the house, doing a handwritten note. And some of us use file folders today for when we go to an inspection. A lot of us are just doing doing everything digitally. However, before you go to that appointment, you have that handwritten note on your desk so that as soon as you get back to the office, you can say it was nice meeting you and going through your lovely home. I look forward to, presentation, and I'll be in touch. Again, another reason for a handwritten note, and they're not expecting. So the power of notes, we'll call it. So, okay, Drew, what do you have to wrap us up?
Get out there and do it.
That's okay.
And don't beat yourself up if you don't do 10 a day. Shoot for 10 a day, but if you did 5 a day for an entire year, you've got many, 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 many contacts that you didn't have at the beginning of the year. So just keep being consistent.
And Robin, words of wisdom from many years in the business.
Words of wisdom. Let me think here. You know what? Don't be too hard on yourself, because sometimes the answer is going to be no. A deal might fall apart, but you just got to remember that there's another one coming if you just keep going after it, truly. And I do tend to be hard on myself. I do get way down when things go bad, but you know what? That's just the way it is. You just have to keep on plugging.
Well, again, you have to have so many no's until you get a yes. And then you learn from the no's. And like I said, with Drew and I competing against a listing, and then he actually showed the property. And so, it happens, and not trying to be direct competitors with each other, but sometimes it does happen. And Laura, if you're still on, any words of wisdom after 12 years in the business?
Well, let's see. You have to treat this like a job. it's so easy not to, okay? Because obviously, if you get up in the morning and you'll have all these distractions. So I think what you need to do is block the time, get up, say, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. Okay. And I'm going to be on command for putting in my contacts for an hour. And then I'm going to be lead generating, calling call your sphere first. I recommend calling your sphere because those are the nice people, right? People, and they're not going to be like, why are you calling me or whatever. So call them, introduce them, let them know you're in business. And then, you know what? If you want to try FSBOs and expires, when you feel like you're a little bit more solid in your technique on talking to people, and you can go ahead and do that. But I would wait until you really feel that you're confident enough to do that, and probably speak to your team leader on how to go about that, because that's a different animal altogether. I'm a face-to-face person. I believe, you get all these, and don't buy leads, just don't do that. Okay. It's a waste of money. I was a Zillow girl for a long time. And then, I would just get really not good stuff. Now Zillow's not our friend. So, all my reviews over there now, I'm just trying to copy paste and get rid of. But anyway, set up a Google account for yourself. That's another thing. Get yourself visible on Google. Google is your friend. Have a couple of friends just write you just little, you didn't have to sell anything, but have them write something about you. Trevor or Robin, or I'm just kind of seeing who's on here. They're a fantastic person, they're new in real estate. I would recommend them, blah, 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 blah. Do that. Get your mark on there. That way you're visible. It's all about, I was a marketing major, as you can tell. I'm one of those people. I'm a face-to-face person. I talk to anybody in Walmart. My God, we're a name tag in Stop and Shop. I know every one of those managers, legit, because I have 4 kids, so I'm in the store all the time. So be social. Let people know you're a realtor. Don't be afraid to have your badge on, because that's, people are going to come up to you and say, hey, how's the market? And make sure you know what's going on in the market, please. Because you don't want to be fumbling on your words when somebody asks you that, because then that's not going to be good for you. So make sure you know what's going on every day in your location, in your town, and if someone asks you that. But to put this to bed here, just treat this like a job, because that's what you need to do. So block out that time, set your goals for the day. I recommend taking bold. Amazing. I love bold. Just educate yourself every day, because there's a broad horizon in this business. There's so many different facets you can go into. I'm trying to get myself into luxury right now. So just do what you do this job and treat it like a job. And then that's it.
Right, and I couldn't agree more. As I said earlier, basically have office hours and know, relating it to a retail store where if your door is closed, people aren't going to enter. And if you open your doors every morning at 8 o'clock and follow the MERA, I hope everybody's read the MERA book, because it does give you basically the guideline of, as Laura said, get organized in the morning, lead generate, and then after that is when you start going on appointments. But to get the lead generating out of the way first thing in the morning, so it does get done. So great. Anybody else have anything else?
Yeah, I did actually have one question going back to the value proposition. I'll try to get it in here really quick, but I'm a brand new agent, so I haven't had time to put any of this into practice or try any, different verbiage or tactics out. But my initial instinct on the value proposition to a potential new client would be to try to make a more personal and emotional connection to them, to try to get them to have you pop to the top of their mind when they're thinking about what agent to sign with. And so I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the balance of the amount of kind of technical, practical information that you put into your initial conversation about, Keller Williams' superior technological resources and whatnot, versus making that one, pithy, poignant statement saying that, if you go with me, I'm going to help you get home. So the balance between the kind of more informational side and the emotional side in that value proposition.
Go ahead, Drew.
My answer would be yes. So you definitely have to have people like you and trust you. And that's not just in real estate. I think that's in any business. People got to like you and trust you. And you can bring certain things to the table, like the advances we have with technology at Keller Williams, the number of agents we have as a resource, the training that we provide to newer agents. So it's kind of both. It's not really one or the other. I don't mean to be wishy-washy, but it is both. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. The thing is, if you have the time, which you should have the time, that as far as also going on Command, going through all the videos, learn everything you can about Command and the marketing and the presentations and building your database, and just really just reaching out to everybody possible. Every time you, like if you are in a grocery store, handing out your business cards, just getting people to know you. And what I said earlier, as far as reaching out to other agents in the office, there are a lot of seasoned agents that just the last thing they want to do is host an open house. They want to, if they're working, crazy hours during the week, the one thing they don't want to do is be at an open house. That to me is probably the single most beneficial way to find buyers, because they are coming through the open house. And in today's world, we're finding that most of the buyers, and I say most, like 90% of all buyers going through an open house are serious buyers. They're not just saying, oh, we don't have anything to do on a Sunday, so let's go and look at open houses. With COVID, we have found that people really have taken it serious, and that they are not just tire kickers, so to speak, that they really are out there working, or if they're looking at a house, they are truly looking at houses to purchase. So they are ready, willing, and most likely able buyers. So
when you do those open houses, and like Laura was saying, she got all those buyers, are you getting them to sign a contract right there when they say, no, yeah, I would like you to help me?
No, it is basically getting name and number and setting up a buyer consultation, so that, once again, going back to the theme and the name of this Ignite value proposition, it's all about showing them your value proposition, and then having them understand why you would be the best agent for them, and then
correct. You just get their name and number, Trevor. Okay, and just like we all have different personalities. I mean, I want to say I probably just refused maybe 2 sellers my whole career, and I'll tell you the reason why is because their price was unrealistic. There was no way I was going to get the price that they wanted. Everybody thinks that they can sell their house for $1 million. I wish I could, wish I could do that for them, but the comps really kind of show. I mean, sometimes if I know they're off just a little bit, I will take them and say to them right off the bat, we'll go with your price, but just remember, the market will tell us if we do not get any offers, we are going to have to bring this down by 10, 20, whatever, and give them that, that talk very first at the table, because you need to let them know this is what has to happen. We're not going to hang on to your price and have it go stale for a couple of months. You need to have that talk right away at the table. Let them know. So a lot of times I win with that approach. What was I going to say? So yeah, so with the buyers, yeah, just put them in. And then as you work with them, they could be really crazy. You don't know. So it's not about just getting a buyer. Oh, great, I got a buyer. Hey, you know what? It might not work out. They might be just like, I don't know. So, work with them and see how it goes, and then get a contract. 9 times out of 10, I don't even get a buyer's contract, to be honest. I don't. A lot of times these buyers are loyal to me. I've never had a buyer sign off or go off, but it's all about feeling them out. Okay. So that's it.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll wrap it up. Thank you all for your time today. I hope you got something out of it. And in the chat, my email's there if anybody wants to reach out to me at any time. And if not, even though I'm not really KW New England, but it's being hosted by KW New England, but John Hatcher. And you can always Google me and find me through KW or Google. And I'd be more than glad to help anybody with any questions they might have in the future. So, well, take care and much success in your new career. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.